Hey dreamers, this is Jechta Plays, and today we're going to discuss the 10 important tips before you're releasing something in Dreams. I want to say before we actually going into the 10 important tips that I want to give you all is I really want to make this video, and I've been thinking a lot if I should make this video or not. And probably I already know that maybe some people are not going to like this, but like I'm not sure, but I really hope at least some of you out there will maybe get a little bit of an idea and then help and then push into the direction of what you can do or what you want to do in dreams. As much as I love all the creations that a lot of people are releasing on dreams, I still see sometimes a few mistakes. Mostly are very common mistakes that I still see. This video is basically like in general, like more in if you are very new to dreams, if you are a starter or already advanced. I really hope this will help you out and make your life a little bit more easier and also a little bit more fun eventually because yeah, well, if you're going to release eventually something in dreams and people are going to see your content and they're probably going to like it. And the thing is with dreams is that like it's a big ocean, right? It's called the Dreamiverse. Like the Dreamiverse is a big ocean where there's like tons of like hundreds of little fishes, bigger, smaller fishes in the ocean that is releasing content. And you're probably going to wonder, how can I make my dream like be more visible, and how can I make sure that my dream is going to be seen by other people? Now, disclaimer, I must say I'm not maybe the most perfect person for this because like I am a small creator myself. I am well, kind of shy. You probably don't know, but if you have maybe seen my streams, I maybe don't sound like that, but I am a very like a shy person, so I'm not really like out there often showing off or anything like that. I don't like to do that. I'm only here. The reason why I'm making this content on YouTube is so that I can help people out that are maybe in need of some help in how to sculpt, how to or like learn some techniques like along the way. I do have some tutorials that I'm releasing from time to time, not as much as other that are focusing more on tutorials. I do it more a little bit like off frequently when I think a tutorial is needed. If I think that okay, I've never seen a tutorial like this before, then I will throw something out. But mostly my channel, mainly my channel is about sculpting. And the reason why I want to do sculpting videos is simply because if you want to learn more about like sculpting or making things in dreams in general, I don't really see much like an YouTube creator specifically for dreams that doing it this way, and so that's why where I come in and where I step in to make that. And like I said, I'm very small creator myself. Not many people seeing my stuff, but I'm not here to talk about how to be like more visible or anything. But I just want to tell that the things that I do see what happens in dreams a lot, that I think that if you're following these 10 tips that I'm going to give you, it will make your life a lot more easier, and people are going to love your creations 100% for sure, and maybe even get like a minimal IQ pick at the end. So not that that should be your goal or anything like that. That should never be your goal, by the way. That's maybe already the bonus tip that I'm going to give you right now. Getting a minimal IQ pick is should not be should not be your main focus. Just enjoy what you love to do, and like I said, if you're following these 10 tips that I'm going to give you, who knows, right? Who knows going to end up with. So I'm going to give you the first tip, and like I said in the intro, this video is for big and smaller creators, new creators, like beginners, basically. The common mistake that everybody is doing is try to start big, and with I mean with that like when you are going to think of like, I'm going to make a game, or I'm going to make a musical experience, I'm going to make a big animation, and every time when someone steps into a new software, in this case Dreams, which is basically just software that's like no other than like any other 3D softwares like an Unreal or a Maya or Cinema 4D, or like name all those name all those 3D programs on your list. The only difference is that Dreams is of course only on PlayStation right now, as the moment of recording. Who knows? It's going to be on PC. Don't know yet, but at the moment right now it stays on PlayStation, and so maybe in the future it's going to the PC. But the thing is that like most people make that mistake to when you're having a new software, you want to learn that new software, in this case Dreams, they always go straight into, I'm going to make a big epic adventure game, and it's going to be lit, it's going to be fantastic. And when they start doing it, they're going to see the struggles. They're going to see it's getting overwhelmed, it's too big, it's too large. They don't know where to begin, they don't know where to end. They don't know where they have to do what they need to do, right? And then they stop and then they quit, or and that's really like something sad like it's happening, that like when you're have so much ambitious, which is not wrong, but you need to be calm down a little bit with your ambitions. And as I always said, like, or like not always said, but like I have like a saying for myself, like start small and dream big. And that's not a pun intended. Well, maybe there is a pun intended, but with starting small and dream big is actually what you should do in dreams. Is just like start small. Like if you want to learn, for example, sculpting, just go into the sculpt mode and don't be afraid to mess up. Don't be afraid to make something awful. Don't be afraid that maybe someone is not going to like your first creation, but just do it. Just go, like, use all the tools at least once and see what they're doing. And it will also give you, by the way, a trophy award for that. But just like using those tools and just figure them out. Make mistakes, do weird things in the beginning. And it's so important for starters to do that, and it will eventually, you're going to learn from the mistakes, you're going to learn from, okay, maybe I should not do this. But it's really important to just like think small and start small. Start with very simple creations, like very small and like a very intimate creation. It could be simple, like in like grass, or try, I don't know, try a house, or try maybe a house already too big, but like like make something like a tree, or like stay small with your sculpts and see how you can expand and learn from that eventually. And then you can watch tutorials. Like Media Molecule has tons of tutorials for beginners and for advanced people. If you're not going to know certain techniques still, you can watch on YouTube. There's like tons of like already like tutorials out there that people made for you. There is at least already, after these few years that Dreams has been released, there are already some tutorials out there how to do things, and it's very helpful. I would recommend you to just start with Media Molecule ones. Like do a few tutorials. Don't do them all in the start. I hear sometimes people saying, yeah, okay, oh, you're doing Dreams for the first time, yeah, watch tutorials, go watch them. That's not helpful. Like don't push someone, don't push a new creator, like push them into a tutorial straight away. And the reason why I'm saying this is because, like, if you're going to push someone or say you should watch tutorials right away when you want to sculpt something, that's going to get so much information, so much overloaded information in your brain, and you get overwhelmed, and then you don't even know what you want to create anymore. So I would suggest like start small and dream big. So just literally Just make small creations. Start small. Make a tree. Make a flower. Make a, I don't know. Make grass. Make water. But like do little props that you wanna that you wanna learn. And eventually, when you think like, okay, I am now ready for a little bit more, and I feel comfortable with the tools, then go into the tutorials. I did it this way. I'm not going to say that what I did is the best way, but I'm just going to say that this is the most comfortable way. Like every developer in the world all started somewhere very small. Like all those AAA games that you're now seeing, all those people that creating something, making a beautiful game, they all started very small in the attic somewhere behind their computer, and they made little sculpts. That's how they started. They didn't make like an Assassin's Creed or an Horizon Forbidden West just like that out of the blue. No, all the people started very small, and they along the way you're going to grow and learn all the tools and techniques and the software itself. So that is my first tip. Tip two is something that I even learned myself on a very hard way. I was like starting small in dreams. I made like small sculptures. I was eventually like moving a little bit up for myself to make my own apartment. And then I move up a little bit. Then I made my first museum, like a museum part. That was my very first bigger creation. And then I step a little bit more up, and then I made like forest, like Once Upon a Time Forest. You can check that one out. And that was like a very ambitious project, or not like a project, but like a very ambitious creation that I had. And I learned on that creation in a very hard way that sometimes you need to know what you're doing, and you need to know what dreams is all about, right? Like you're like you have Thermo, right? There is like, if you're familiar with Little Big Planet, there is a thermo limitation of graphics and gameplay and audio. And if you're going to create something, you probably already have like maybe have seen it while you're creating something. Your graphics is rising up to 100%, or your gameplay is rising up to 100%. That is all because probably you don't know like what is the best steps to go for. So this is a very important thing that I even learned myself, and that is like try to make sculpts out of one sculpt. And what I mean with this is just like sometimes like you want, for example, you want to make a car or a barrel. Maybe not a car, but like a barrel. Like you want to make a barrel, a simple barrel. And the barrel is like has of course like different material, right? But it's mostly of wood or plastic, and there is maybe something holding the whole barrel together, and that's like iron or something like that. And now a normal creator would think, at least in wait, outside of dreams, like okay, I need a texture for the iron material, and I need the texture for wood, and then I like combining together, and maybe even some other textures, and you're going to like make that already in three different sculpts to get like this to get a certain result. I say don't do this, and I'm going to tell you why. If you're going to use multiple single sculpts in one asset, you need to be realizing this. If it's just a barrel, right? And if you're going to make a game, you need way more assets to make your game alive. You need way more props to place in your scene. And if you're already have a barrel that existed out of three parts, and you need to clone this barrel 100 times, right? That's like 300 different single scopes that you're already placing in the scene. And you can reduce this by just by 100. And I see this mistake even till the day till now. I see it everywhere still in dreams, and I'm not saying that I am perfect, and I know sometimes you cannot really like sometimes you have to make it out of multiple sculpts, right? Because you cannot create like a super complex creation with only one sculpt. Technically you can, but it's going to get very ugly because like the quality is getting lower and lower. So it's not always like inevitable to to do everything in one scope, but there is a lot of props that you can do in one scope, and it only will save you not even more gameplay, but it will also learn for yourself to look differently at a sculpt, at an object. And I learned this on, like I said, on a very hard way. I did this myself when I was creating the forest. I was like collecting different assets on the Dreamiverse, and I made a forest out of it, and my Thermo was rising up in the air. Like it was like whoosh, it was going into gameplay Thermo like 80% or something like that. I only had like a tree and some grass and plants and rocks, and it was not really that much. But my gameplay was super high, and also the graphics. But the graphics can also be reduced a little bit. But like, I will come to that later. But like my gameplay was very high, and I was like, this is not the way. This is definitely not the way to make such a simple scene, and you're already going to very close to the cap of the gameplay Thermo, and you don't even have the gameplay yet, right? You don't even have the logics. Like you need also logics eventually, probably in your game, or and that will also rise up some gameplay Thermo. So you need to make sure which asset can be made in one creation, in one sculpt, and which asset you need to sacrifice maybe in two-part sculpt or three-part sculpt. This is something like you need to practice a lot. This is something that I still need to practice myself. I'm not perfect, so this is not like saying to you guys, look at me, I am perfect, you're not. I also still at the day now, I'm also still learning it, but I really want to like share this to the world, share this to the dreams community, because I'm seeing this mistake so many times, and I'm playing sometimes in simple creation, and I have an FPS drop like 15, 10 FPS, and that's horrible. It's almost going to get unplayable. And the reason why is just because they think that like, oh, I can like collect everything and stuff like that. But make sure and look very closely if you're going to use something from the Dreamiverse. Make sure how many parts is that sculpt made of. Does it uses multiple sculpts in one sculpt? For example, I had like I was like one time I have doing a stream, and I was like creating a whole scene with only community assets. It was a very fun thing to do, and I will do that more often. It's a very fun thing to do, but you need to cherry pick. There are sometimes creations that people make, like they made like a simple building, and it looks very cool. Like, hey, I can use that. And I was placing it into the scene, and my gameplay term was rising to 20%, but just that one prop, just one asset. And I was like, wow, 20% for just one building. And then I was like scoping into the sculpture, and every single window was made out of a single sculpt, and it was all grouped together. Yes, that's going to be not fun if you want to have more buildings into your scene, because like five of those buildings, and you have like reaching already the 100% of the gameplay turmoil. So tip two for me is for you guys is just try to sculpt as many props into a one sculpt. And keep in mind that you need to like sacrifice a few stuff and like material. Of course, there are some sculpts have different materials, different reflections, but you can get away with it if you're sometimes just like using it maybe for a gameplay element, like a gameplay prop in like in the world. You're not going to see if the iron is actually like more shiny than the wood. Like if you're just like make something such like a simple like a barrel or a vase or like any like small lanterns or something like that. Like try always to reduce the amount of single sculpts in your assets. It's very important. So that's my number two tip that I want to give you. The number three tip number three is oh my, oh god. Okay, I know this is something that Molecule has at the time that I'm recording this. It has it as standard, And I know the reason behind it. I know the philosophy behind this method, this way of how they're doing it, but it's kind of annoying. And it also takes the immersive away, and maybe you can get it already, but I'm talking about the manual possessing the puppet with the R2 button. If you're playing a game, and this is not a joke, if like I'm not that horrible of a person, but I know that a few people, pretty much a lot of people, that going to skip your game mostly if they already need to press R2 to like possess your puppet to play the game. It's like a good example. If you're going to play God of War and you're starting up God of War and you have the character and you would try to move Kratos, but he doesn't move because you need to possess him first. That's really weird, right? That's doesn't make any sense. I know the reason behind it, what Media Molecule did it, because the philosophy behind Dreams was basically puppeteering and make everything like fun, and like, but it was basically the very first teaser what they showed where like puppeteering's like moving. But people that are now so far already in Dreams making beautiful games and beautiful things, and still I need to possess puppets or possess cars or stuff like that to even do something. And it's really simple to solution to to get rid of this. There is, if you go inside the puppet and if you go to the the controller of the puppet, there is a tab saying possessed, automatically possess the puppet. So every time when you're going into the scene, it automatically already possess the puppet when you're going to play your game or anything. So please, 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 please turn on the automatically possess the puppet option. Please do it. It will make a lot of dreamers very happy if you do that. And also, it will not even make them a little bit more happier, but it will also stay in the immersive that is not like a puppeteer game, like losing themselves in another world, another creation that you made, right? So, and when you're going to have manually assessing a puppet, that can maybe like get rid of that immersive feeling. There is, of course, an exception. There's, of course, an exception, and that's all depends on the type of gameplay that you want to make. Like, I can understand sometimes maybe you want to, like, make puppeteer game, right? Maybe you want to make a puppeteer game. Then I understand why you made the why you choose to possess and not possess a puppet. Then it's your style and art style and idea for the type of gameplay. So that's the only exception that can I think of, and the rest is just a no go. So that was like tip number 3. Tip number 4 is basically a thing that I already said in tip number 1 about the thermo. Like graphic thermo and gameplay thermo is of course a very big thing, and but I'm going to talk a little bit about graphics thermo this time. I've already spoke about the gameplay thermo, but the graphics thermo. The graphics thermo is something that is your friend and enemy at the same time. I see a lot of people, a lot of dreamers making the same mistake when you're going to create something in Dreams. If it doesn't matter if it's a sculpt, an animation, I see often people struggling with graphics thermo. Graphics thermo is of course rising a lot if you have like tons of like single unique sculptures into your scene that will rise eventually your graphics thermo. Another way to rise up your graphics thermo is editing a sculpt that you already placed into your scene, and you're going to cut that out and to place it somewhere else. That's also already at least +1 graphics addition to the thermo. Could be more depending on how heavy the sculpture is, of course. So I see a lot of people doing that they found out that you can reduce and increase the amount of sculpture detail, and they're going to reduce a lot of the graphics thermo. And sometimes they do it a little bit too far. And by doing a reducing of a sculpture, if you're going it too far because you think that will save you more graphics thermo, which is basically true, but your game is also going to become uglier. Like you're losing so much quality, overall quality into your game, which is really unnecessary if you're just play it a little bit differently and think a little bit more ahead of what you want to create in dreams. Maybe you want to chop your creation into different pieces so you can link more dreams next to each other so you can keep the quality still high without like reducing like all the assets. So like tip number 4 is more like don't decrease the graphics too far, but there is also another side that don't increase the graphics too high, right? Because like if you're going to increase the graphics too high, your game is going to be unplayable, and you get like probably like FPS drop or anything like that. It's something you really want to avoid. There are a few things that you can test out. You have like test mode in Dreams that you can like test out and see if it stays under the snail icon, so you know that you at least have 30 FPS and above. I don't know if it's locked or anything. That I don't know. I think it can be 60 FPS on PlayStation 4, but it can also get lower than 30 FPS. So don't decrease it too far, but also don't increase it too far. Find a good middle point where you think this is still good. I can deal with like 40%, 50% of the graphics thermo, maybe 60%, although that's going to get a little bit risky already. But like find a good balance. And if you think that like decrease or like that's not doable anymore in your dream, then maybe try to think a little bit more differently about your creation itself. If you want to make like a bigger game, chop it in pieces. Make like different levels, different sections, so you don't have to like lower the quality that much. Find the right balance, and you're good to go. So that's my tip number 4. Tip number 5. This is a big yikes, and sadly, sadly, this is happening still a lot. I already see a lot of dreamers already doing this already a little bit better. I made a few tutorials about this matter, about this tip that we're going to give you, but I need to talk to you guys right now, like under 4 eyes, mono to mono. Don't use the default lighting in Dreams. Don't do it. Please don't do it. Because it, even though you think it looks okay, it doesn't. The default lighting is just a bland overall lighting so you can sculpt something. You need to see it as a canvas, right? Your If you start up the editor mode, you're seeing an empty space, probably with like one big square always in the center. And if you have the grid on, you always also see the grid. And that's it. That is your canvas. There's nothing inside there except for maybe for that one plane. But and then you're going to sculpt inside, and you're like, oh, this looks nice, and maybe it does looks okay. But please don't use the default light, guys, because like it lightning in games, or not in only in games, but actually in everything, it's so important. Light can change the whole like the whole meaning of your creation, of your design, of your art style. Light is so important. And sadly, I still see this a lot when I am browsing through the Dreamiverse and I see very beautiful creations and I'm seeing the default light has been used and I'm like crying out of my eyes. I'm like, no, why? This is like, this is not actually a tip. This is more like you have to do this. Like this is not like this is not like a tip. This is actually something you need to do it. And if you want to know more about how to do lighting in dreams, like how to get like good lighting in dreams, I have two tutorials on my YouTube channel. I will link that below in my video as well, and you will already see probably now some videos for that. But I just want to say, if you want to learn a little bit more of like how to make realistic, or not per se realistic, I call it realistic, probably going to rename it, but it's just like I'm just showing all the options and how to change a good looking light, and how to make like daylight, like, and nighttime light. It's just the basic tips. It's just like helping you, hopefully helping you a little bit. But please watch those tutorials, because like I'm explaining like almost like every single slider. I'm explaining that one, and because like lighting is so important, and because like lighting can color gradients can make and break your creation a lot. So please don't use the default lighting. So that's tip number 5. Tip number 6, and this is actually a little bit of like a thing that after you have like put something in your creation, maybe in your asset or something like that, if you to check out how things are looking. A very common mistake that I still see a lot of people doing this, and this is a big no. This is like a big no go, and I'm talking about skyboxes in assets released on the Dreamiverse. I need a moment. I can understand that you probably have forgotten about this. I can understand that you think it would be helpful for another creator if you already have the proper light in there. But it's not. Trust me, it is not. The reason why I'm saying this, you need to think of what is another creator going to do with your asset that you just made. You create a beautiful tree, and you release it on the Dreamiverse, and you still have all the lights, all the effects, the skybox is in there, the great effects is in there, maybe you have some music, audio in there. I don't know what you have in there, and then you release it on the Dreamiverse, and a creator that is looking for a tree, and he's seeing your tree, and he's seeing the preview picture. It's like, oh, okay, that's a very good looking tree. He's going to place it into his creation that he already made, and it mess ups his whole creation, because he probably didn't even knew that there was already light gadgets in there, or he did maybe even knew there was something inside the tree creation, and he probably going to like place random random sculpts into his world, or into his scene, into his dream, and then he is going to like work on his own logics, on his own text gadget, or not text gadget, on his own skybox, and he is like, and he or she is like, why? Okay, I moved my sliders, but there's nothing going on in my world. What is Dreams broken? Is it bug? No, it's because somewhere in one of these assets, and maybe multiple assets, have all like skyboxes inside, and it's don't do it. It's I have a very good example in one of my streams where I was doing the community asset only creation. Luckily I saw it on time, but I was placing a cloud creation, very beautiful cloud, very simple, very beautiful cloud system. But there was a sun gadget in there, and I didn't realize that first. So I just placed it into the scene, and I just placed more assets into the scene, and then I was going to change my sun gadget, my own sun gadget, and I couldn't. There's no changing happening. I was like, okay, that's weird. I don't know what's happening. And then I had to like turn on the X-ray so I could see if there were some hidden logics, hidden skyboxes in Sculpts. And that, as a creator, you don't want to deal with. So this is a very important thing. If you're ever going to release something in Dreams, don't put sky text boxes, lights, effects inside your prop, because a creator that wants your creation is going to already place it in his own settings, in his own light settings. There is of course exception, and like if you have like a lantern, there's of course light needs to come from a lantern, but I'm really talking about spotlights, about to make the tree look more gorgeous, because like you think that like looks cool as an asset, but don't release it like that. You can maybe make a screenshot and a photo for it as a preview image, but don't release that asset with all those things inside. Just a clean prop, just a clean asset, just a clean tree that you sculpted. That's already beautiful enough, and then the creator can use that in its own creatings, in its own settings. Important to know. So please don't do this. So that is like for the tip number 6. Tip number 7 is this is not like anything too bad, but I do still see it like a lot of happening, and I even sometimes like yeah see that I do it sometimes myself. So this is also basically still a reminder for myself as well. But if you're going to use like for example if you have like an unseen an animation a visual or something like that happening and you want to release it on Dreams and there is no audio in it, it's just nothing. For me, it depends on the creation maybe. Like it really depends maybe on what type of content it is, but I still see a lot of like creations that has no audio in it, and it's like simple things. Like it's simple things like if you have like wind effects or like a little bit breezy, like a little bit like maybe some thunder or maybe rain or like well, maybe that's a little bit like cliche sometimes, but like always try to find at least a little bit of audio, like not too hard into the sound, but like just a little bit soft in the background, so there is something noise in the background, so like your creation become alive basically, and no matter what it is, it could be an animation, sculpt, a still, an art, painting, it could be anything. Just put something in there that gives a little bit more appealing to the creation itself. Audio is very important as well. Just as how lighting is important, audio is very, very important as well. At least, of course, like, yeah, it's a combination between everything, but audio can be very important. But it's not like it's carrying as much as lightning, but it still holds and breaks, like it makes and breaks creation basically. And I make this mistake sometimes myself that I forget sometimes a few audio in here and there, and then I'm like, oh, looking back and it's oh wait, I should have like placed something in here, and it's a common mistake. See this a lot. Don't do this. I want to like add a little bit something about this with the audio is if you're going to place, for example, the media molecule assets, the audio samples, you can do that, but please tweak them. I don't want to hear the same bird chirping in every single creation the same way, the same time. Now, there is like a lot of like taps and sliders and options you can like deform and change the little bit of like the audio of like the bird chirping, and so it doesn't really like it's not like it's not becoming like more obviously that it's like oh this is a Mitamoku audio sample or this is another creation's audio sample. So always tweak the audio itself so that you're not going to hear the same audio. I make this mistake too, so I'm also talking to myself right now. This is basically just like me talking to a mirror, because I sometimes, especially in the older creations, like from 2 years ago, I did the same mistake. So this is a mistake that happens a lot, and I forgive you, but please don't do it. Please don't do it. Like tweak your audio and make sure that it sounds just a little bit differently than it normally does, and you're good to go. You can release it, and it's fine. Also, and more of an additional to this, don't release audio too loud, or don't over sample it with every other audio in your game. I often play Dreams creations that I have to turn down my audio because my ears are popping out. I see a lot of people like this. If you're like adding like music samples or audio examples, it's mostly on default at 80%. People always slide it to 100%. Don't do that. Don't. I know who you are. I know who you are. I see you. Don't do that. So my recommendation, like my advice, my tip basically is just put it even a little lower. Just put the audio example maybe on 40%, 30%, maybe even 20, depending on what you're having as an audio example. Don't let the background audio oversampling the overall game experience. That is going to be very annoying for the people that are going to play your creation, or even that they're not going to play creation and they like need to stop because the audio gets like in their ears so loud, and they're like, "Whew, that is too much." You don't want to let that happen. You want that the person you want that the person is going to play your stuff. So make sure that the audio levels are fine, good, leveled. Very important. So tip number 8. This is like basically like an addition to the music part, but like in more in general. If you're going to release a game or a creation or music or anything like that, and you're just going to release it, you're like, okay, I'm done, and I'm going to publish it, and let's see if someone's going to like it. And then you get like a lot of like comments maybe back, and like, this is not working, that is not working, I have some glitches here and there, why is this one not really working, blah 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 blah. Always test, test, test your own creation, no matter what it is. Before you're going to release something in the Dreamiverse, always self-test your own creation. Always checking if there's not something missing. And if it's a big skill of a game, which sometimes people make, ask the community if they want to play test your creation. You can share your dream to someone else in private, so you don't have to like release it on the Dreamiverse yet, but you can send a creation private as to another person, and so that he can test out your game and see if there's something going wrong. And if he and she didn't find anything anymore, then you're a little bit more safe to release it. Of course, in every single creation, in every single video game out there, bugs and glitches can always happen. Things can always look like overlooked or anything like that, but always like reduce as much as possible so that the experience for the most people are enjoyable and that they're not like getting stuck so quickly or so soon in your creation. Self-testing, or asking collaborators, or asking your friends or your family or whatever have a PlayStation, let them test your stuff before you're going to release it. It's a very important thing. It's a small tip, but I think this is a very it's maybe a small tip, but it's a very big tip as well. So that's like tip number 8. Tip number 9 is more like, I don't want to say like annoying or anything like that. Not at all. This is like something that I see still happening. Not luckily not as much as anymore, but I still see people still doing it. Is that they're not going to release their creation in a dream. Of course, it depends. Like you like if you have like music, it's different. But if you have like a scene, an animation, a sculpt, and or you want to show something, always put your creation into a dream. And the reason why is so that it's easier for in dreams to pick up your creation, so people can easily found your creation better. Be the molecule is going to curate your creation a little bit better. They will find your creation a little bit faster, like that. So always, it is a small tip, but I still see that a lot of people still doing this. Put your not as much anymore, but still I see still people doing this. Don't put your creation just out there without putting it into a dream. Very important. Have a dream with an in and an out. It automatically already ins, and you can like manually put something out if you want to have like an outro. Do it. Please do it. Put your creation into a dream if it's something you want to showcase, a project, a game, an animation, a movie, anything of that sort. Still, any audiovisual, always put it into a dream. Very important. And you get the warning, I think, always in the beginning when you're doing it. So Minimoki is also warning you about that. So Minimoki already said it, but I'm going to like double say it. Okay, so that was like tip number 9. We are finally here for tip number 10. Tip number 10 is also a very tiny one. It is, let's say that this is maybe the most important thing as well. I was just going to say this is the most, no, it's not the most important, but it's a very important thing. And that is releasing your dream without a description or any text. I sometimes see people making a creation and they don't even have any description in it. They don't even have any tags in it or using tags to get clicks and that like the creation is not even that. Don't do it. But at least that's up for yourself. I cannot like judge that. But like if you want to clickbait or not. But like please put at least a little bit of a description. If you have like a game, I don't like you don't have to write much. You can only say a little bit short what it is. And so for the person that's going to check out your dream, that they know what they can a little bit expect. So maybe they don't like certain stuff in dreams, and if they open a dream and you didn't really warn them or told them what your creation is about, then they maybe find it a little bit like, "Ooh, whoa, wait, I was not expecting this." Or I mean, like it's just like important to just have a little bit of like a description of your creation. It can be very small. You can just say like, "Hey, I made this recently, and it's a new creation, and I'm very new, and but I like we had a lot of fun to make this. So I hope you enjoy it," something like that. Or say something like, "This is an adventure game, 2.5D platformer with lots of enemies, lots of puzzles. So take a look." And something like that. Just like a little bit of. I know promoting yourself is you should not like if you're not very comfortable with that. I can understand. I am not really good at promoting myself either, but puts a little bit of a description in there. Very important. And the last thing is of course the tags. It's just like YouTube. It's basically the algorithm so that your creation can be found more easily. So if you want to make sure that your creation will be visible and be seen by other creators, put text that matters to your creation. If you have like an adventure game, say adventure game. Does you have your adventure game certain themes in it, like puzzles or shooting or enemies, or put it all into your text so people can find your creation a little bit faster, and that will eventually get more popular, and who knows, Minimoki is going to pick up your stuff. There's something that before you're going to release something on Dreams, just before you publish it, before you click on publish my dream, there's still something you need to know, and that is thumbnails. Thumbnails are very important. Like for example, if you wanna like having a thumbnail that it can be just as simple as showing your whole creation, or just like do something else, or like maybe do a logo. Although a logo is something like you need to be aware of as well, because like if you're going to use a logo inside your thumbnail, just keep it minimal. Just like put the logo somewhere like you think it's nice, but keep the background, keep the most space for the background. So how it's triggering the dreamer to click on your creation to get his curiosity of what it is. And I always learned that you don't always need to put everything into a thumbnail. A thumbnail can just be a simple thing. Like it can be a mountain. It can be like a close up of something. And I'm not going to really talk about this much deeper into this video, but just make sure that you have like a thumbnail that is triggering your curiosity, right? You want to like trigger someone's curiosity, and you have to keep in mind not everybody has the same interest. Like for example, what you have like one like if you are watching on Netflix, you have like all those thumbnails, but sometimes thumbnails not always 100% working on everybody because not everybody is interested in the same content or in the same way how the picture is made. So this is a little bit of a tricky part, but you have to like test it a little bit of yourself out. Like you look at like what is a good thumbnail, what is a good cover image to trigger a creator or trigger a dreamer and click on your dream, because that's what you want. You want that the player is going to play your creation. So you need to make sure that the image of the thumbnail has enough trigger points that you really trigger the curiosity. So don't make your thumbnails too dark. Don't make it too bright. Don't put too many into your thumbnail. Don't make it like look like it's like a big war of a mess of on your thumbnail. Make it so clean as possible. Make it clean, minimalizing what you're showing into your thumbnail. The more people are triggering to click on it. And if you're making something like I don't know an environment or something, show that environment. Show what you want to show. If it's something like a spoiler, if it's like if you don't want to show it, show maybe like a close up of it. So you're not really seeing the full potential of that thing what you're creating. So you will still like keeping the spoiler part, but we'll use like close ups. So close ups is also always helpful and to make it intriguing to click on something. But make sure that your thumbnail is like your business card. Try always do a little bit of like a good shot of your what you think you are the most proud of or what you want to show into your creation, and use that as a thumbnail and then release it on online on the Dreamiverse. Very important to do this. So don't forget a good looking thumbnail. That is basically the 10 important tips before you're releasing something in Dreams that I really wanted to bring it out there in the open. There's still a lot more tips that I wanna like that I can maybe think of, but I think that these were the 10 most important tips, at least to get you started, at least to make something very beautiful in Dreams. Because like I said, start small and dream big. I really hope you liked this video. There was a lot of like talking. It's not like a really quick video, but I really want to make a more in-depth video about 10 important things in Dreams for you releasing. Thank you so much for watching, and I make tons of like sculpting videos, so check those out on my YouTube channel. There will be like lots of sculpting, lots of community gems, so check that one out. See you everybody, bye bye, and don't forget to dream.